As an anime fan, the question of what anime you would not like to spawn into if you were given a chance is probably asked a lot, since it goes through everybody's heads. And one of the first animes everybody thinks of is probably Attack on Titan, or Tokyo Ghoul, or Berserk. But in my opinion, there is a very underrated option that all of us know about but don't really look at when we think of it, and it's One Piece. And with the release of the new One Piece fan letter by Megumi Ishitani, it really does give you perspective on how dark One Piece can truly be. But before I get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Leave a like and subscribe, as that'd be greatly appreciated, and I do put out content like this regularly. Whether it's One Piece or just other animes in general, I've either covered it or I'm going to cover it in the future, so you might as well like and subscribe to be there when I go there. But I think that's enough of my rambling. I know why you're truly here, so let's get into the horrors of One Piece. Alright, so just for a moment, I want you guys to put yourselves in the shoes of the average person in One Piece. You're not somebody grand, you don't have a grand devil fruit, you don't even have a devil fruit, you don't have special powers, you don't have special strength, you don't have anything. You're just the average person, you're an average human in One Piece. Now what I want you to do is I want you to use all of your knowledge as the viewer to now think of how terrible it is to be inside the world and how horrific it can truly be. If you're unlucky enough, you may end up on an island that has the lead poisoning that Law was suffering from as a child. Or you could end up on an island where the Marines who are meant to protect you are actually sellouts for the pirates. And with those two examples alone, it really does showcase how dark One Piece can really be if you're just spawned into the wrong circumstances. Now let's say that you spawn into a family that's not too well off and you're forced into the Marines. Now, as One Piece fans, we know all the things that the Marines do, but imagine the average Marine soldier not knowing what's going on behind closed doors. As the average foot soldier, you may get put under somebody like Garp, or if you're unlucky, somebody like Axeham Morgan. Whoever you're put under as a Marine could really change the fate of your life and determine whether you get a good life or you get a terrible life. And even if you get stuck under somebody like Garp, I don't think your life would be that great either, since he's somebody that likes to go into massive battles. As the average Marine with no special sort of talents, you're not really gonna get out of those battles alive. You gotta think about it. He's fighting great people. You won't be able to stack up to that, and just on the battlefield, you may die. Now in the One Piece fan letter, it does cover two brothers who were enrolled into the Marines and they were forced into the Paramount War. And as expected, both brothers weren't doing too well in the war at the start because both of them were trapped under rubble. One was trapped under a little ship and the other was trapped under some ice. Now as showcased in the episode before this, the younger brother is the more happy-go-lucky one and the one that's always telling his brother to be smart and always telling him to get better. While in this scene, you can literally see him crying out for his brother to run since he doesn't want his brother to die. And this really does bring in the realism of One Piece and the fact that if you're not somebody like Luffy, Law, Kobe, or just another really popular One Piece character, your story isn't going to go in the favor you want it to go in. And talking about popular One Piece characters, even they go through terrible things, and that is something I want to cover next. Many of our most beloved characters have been through terrible things, and through them we are truly able to see the horrors of One Piece firsthand. Law going through his lead poisoning, Sanji going through his abusive family, Boa being literally a slave. These are things that we need to take in as One Piece fans and truly deep how horrific it truly is. If you were the average person from Law's village when the lead poisoning hit, you died. There was no coming back from it. No ifs, ands, buts or whys, you died. If you were on that ship that Zeph raided when Sanji stood up to him and obviously Zeph then saved him from that, you died. If you were a slave under the Celestial Dragons when Fisher Tiger came, there isn't a guaranteed chance that he saved you that night. You may have died as well. Taking it back to the Paramount War, I just want to focus on everything that Luffy himself did. Not anybody else, not for the time being. I want to focus on everything that Luffy did. Now in the episode it is explained that Luffy did give the man and his brother enough courage to survive the war, but I really want to focus on all the other stuff that Luffy did do. I think every One Piece fan has thought about the people that Luffy did free from Impel Down, but I just really want to sit here and talk about how on that day alone they probably killed thousands of innocent Marines, and they didn't do it because they were trying to save Ace. No, they did it because they wanted to. You gotta remember, these are some of the most worst criminals that we have seen. There's a reason they're in the bottom levels of Impel Down, and when they're doing this, they're not doing this, as I said before, to free Ace. No, They're doing it because that's what they like doing. That's the reason they're in Impel Down. And Luffy didn't think about them when they freed them. He was only thinking about Ace. And from that alone, I don't mean to say that Luffy is a bad person. He's not a bad person. But to the average Marine, he definitely is. Now, as an average civilian in One Piece, you may have just lost somebody dear to you, whether that be your daughter, your brother, your husband, your fiance, or whoever. You may have lost somebody dear to you because Luffy was thinking about one person, and because of that, it's a chain reaction. You now have lost something close to you. And don't get me wrong, the exact same thing goes on for when Kizaru is raining down all of these massive attacks, or Aokiji is freezing things over, or when Akainu literally killed his own men in cold blood. Everybody on that battlefield has blood on their hands, and they need to obviously pay for it. Even when Ace landed, what did he do? The first thing he did was create a whole pillar of fire and started incinerating everybody in that area aside from Luffy. And then you gotta think about it. When Akainu killed Ace and Whitebeard sent off that large smash to Akainu, you gotta think about all the people that he may have killed with just that one attack alone. Now at this point, I feel like I've gone over the Paramount War enough. I mean, to be honest, I could go in depth and create a whole different segment about it as well, but at this point, I want to focus on other different events in the One Piece world and truly explain to you how terrible they really are. Now from this point on, I will be talking about manga stuff, so if you haven't read the manga, spoilers ahead, but obviously if you have, then sit back, relax. I want to talk about some manga content. Okay, so by this point, I think every anime only should be gone. If you're not gone, then I mean, just let the spoilers roll in, but if you are gone, then good. Now, around about a year ago, we got Kuma's flashback. Now, I know everybody and their nan knows how terrible it was, but I really want to sit here and explain to you guys and really show you how, if you wasn't Kuma, Ginny, or just somebody that was around them, you got one of the worst fates ever. Now imagine you are born as a slave, and when you grow up, they're now telling you, you have to run from us or we're going to kill you. And they don't even feed you well, they beat you, and if you even try to step up, they kill you. Mind you, these are the exact same people the world tells you to worship, but if you don't abide by every single thing they set and tell you, you're dying. And within saying that, this exact same government is willing to take out a whole entire island just so they can test out their new plaything. Imagine you are on that island and you were not told to evacuate. You die on the spot because the person you are meant to give all your money to and you're meant to worship has literally just killed you because he wanted to test out his new plaything. Or maybe because you started to uncover the terrible things that they are doing, they then decide to kill you. But not only do they kill you and your group, they then kill everybody on that island and burn it down to the ground. Why? Because if anybody survives, it's terrible for their propaganda. Now I know this strayed a little bit off of the Kuma flashback, but to bring it back on track, you really got to think about all the people that may have died in the middle of Rock's, Garp and Roger's battle. That is something that you need to think about as well. Now similar to the Kuma flashback, you then have Sab ODI where they now talk about slaves but in a different way and they're actually just selling them. When people think about Sab ODI, they see it as more of a sad arc since that's when the Straw Hat split up. But when I think about Sab ODI, I think about all the dark things we learn about the world government. As I said before, they are literally selling slaves. Once you are captured, they then sell you to these celestial dragons and they bid for you. Imagine somebody bidding over you and then buying you because you looked nice or you're a certain species, so they're like, yeah, you can be useful, and then when they get you, they treat you like trash. That is something that could happen if you're in the One Piece world, and it is very likely to happen. And this doesn't matter what species you are, it's gonna happen. And with that being said, I now want to segue into the group of people that were actually just influencing it themselves and talk about how the world government basically allowed them to do it with no repercussions until recently. Now I think by now most of you are caught on, but if you haven't, it's the 7 Warlords. Don't get me wrong, all of them weren't involved, it was only a few, but out of those few, they were able to use the power of the 7 Warlords and truly abuse it. Out of the 2 of them, Crocodile and Doflamingo were definitely the worst with what they were doing, and Doflamingo in my opinion is on a different level to Crocodile, as Crocodile was doing certain things, but Doflamingo was making all the smile fruits, putting money here, there and everywhere, and on top of that he was using Dressrosa as his own little playground. For the average person in Dressrosa, you was controlled by Doflamingo, and if you were unlucky on that one fateful day, you may have been slain by your own king. And mind you, the world government and the Marines probably knew about this and didn't care. Why? Because he's the seventh wall of the sea, and when they need his help, he's gonna come and he's gonna help them. So to them, a random island isn't really going to do much for them. Okay, it's just one island out of many, and they control basically every island in the world aside from a couple. What's that going to do to them? It's not going to change anything. And then with Crocodile taking over Alabasta, stripping of all of its water and using it so he can find the poneglyph and read it. And it's kind of like, when you're an average civilian on that island, what can you really do? You can't turn to the Marines or anything, because they're going to tell you what? He's the guy that's in charge of the island, so what? We can't do much. Like, he's the seventh wall of the sea. We are out of our jurisdiction to even say anything to him. And that's what adds another level of fear onto these things, because it's like you can't do anything in those scenarios. All you can do is sit there, put your hands up and hope nothing bad happens. Wano also suffered from the exact same fate, but I think Wano was even worse, because you gotta think about it, it's not under the world government's jurisdiction. So with Crocodile and Doflamingo, yeah, they were doing heinous things, but they couldn't completely tear down the country. With Wano, Kaido tore down that entire country to do what he wanted to do, and if you stepped out of line, you were gone. He was going to put you somewhere, or he was just going to straight up kill you. It's stuff like this that really makes you sit back and really realize how horrific One Piece is. Mind you, I've barely gone over the terrible things that pirates do. We know that Kid was a terrible pirate. He was going around killing people for the sake of just doing it. And so I think by now, everybody kind of understands how horrific One Piece can be. Now, I want to talk about somebody that completely opposes it. Now, I know immediately two names have popped into your head. They're probably going to be Dragon and Luffy. Now, Dragon is somebody that I want to make an entirely different video on. But now I want to focus on Fujitora and talk to you guys about how Fujitora is somebody that stands up to all the horrors of One Piece. When we first meet Fujitora, he is kind of odd, and it's like, oh, he's just a random blind man that's really good at gambling. That happens until obviously it's revealed who he is, and we're like, oh, it's an admiral. At this point in the story, we're conditioned to think of admirals as bad people, but until we actually see the actions of Fujitora and how he judges situations, we're like, maybe they can be good. And so by the end of Dressrosa, we're fully able to make a judgment of him, and we know that he is somebody that is good. From blinding himself because of the atrocities of the One Piece world, to standing up to his superior Sakazuki, to then going on to abolish the 7 Warlords, we're able to see how Fujitora may genuinely be one of the most righteous people in One Piece. Fujitora is the exact same guy that when he was on Marie Joie, the one place that you do not want to defy the Celestial Dragons on, he went around freeing slaves and helping them, and even went up against his own associate just so he can free the slaves. Fujitora is somebody that sees the atrocities, knows them, and is like, I'm not standing for them one bit. And because of that, I think Fujitora, out of everybody in the whole entire story, embodies the horrors of One Piece and shows us how terrible the One Piece world is, but how people can actually make a change in it. He blinded himself over the horrors of the world and actively goes against them. So in my eyes, I feel like Fujitora, out of basically everyone in One Piece, I'd say even more than Dragon, kind of does embody the horrors of the One Piece world, and shows us that through him, the evils of the One Piece world will be eradicated. Now, another person that I believe is heavily connected to the horrors of the One Piece world is Akainu, and that is because he believes that all the horrors stem from pirates, when he can't even see in himself that he is one of the horrors in the One Piece verse. He's the exact same guy that will kill his own men because they're trying to flee from a battle that to anybody is scary, but for him, it's like, if you don't sit here on your 10 toes and fight this war with me, you're a traitor and you're adding to what the pirates are doing. And he can't see out of his own 2 eyes that he needs to relax and be like, the world isn't as black and white as I see it. The world is grey, and I think that's something that Sakazuki just doesn't understand, and I believe that's what makes him a horror of the One Piece world as well. A lot of people may think that Sakazuki at heart could be a good person, but in my eyes, I just don't see it. The reason I say that is because Sakazuki is the exact same guy that got mad at Fujitora for disobeying his orders because he was saving slaves. If Sakazuki was actually a good person, he would have been like, okay, I get it. Like, they're slaves, like, okay, you can just free the slaves, at least next time be a little bit more low-key. No, he said you can't go back to any marine base. He obviously condones whatever the world government is doing because he hasn't really said much about it, and it's like, for him to say that he is trying to eradicate all evil, no bro, you are the evil. And in that exact same breath, you can then say that he is a product of the horrors of the One Piece verse, since something had to have happened for him to hate pirates so bad. But I could go on forever with different characters inside the verse and how they are products of the horrors of the One Piece verse, or how the horrors of the One Piece verse does do certain things to the verse and whatnot. But I think here is a good place to end it and wrap everything up. To conclude, One Piece is one of the worst verses you could ever spawn into, as there are several different things you could run into that could just lead to your death, or just lead to you being a slave, or just something bad happening. I didn't even really talk about how you could eat a random devil fruit, it being doo-doo, and then you're stuck with that devil fruit and you can't swim. Or you being born somewhere where a smile factory is near, you accidentally eat a smile devil fruit and you can't stop laughing, and you're literally crying while you're laughing. There are so many different things that I didn't even really touch on that can play a factor in the horrors of the One Piece verse, but if I did that, I'd be here for hours. But I feel like in the 15 minutes that I did get, I obviously covered everything that needs to be covered. So if you feel like I missed anything out, you know what to do. Comment down below, scream at me and tell me that I missed this and that I'm an idiot, and we can chop it up in the comment section. Obviously, as I said before in my other video, I did allow you guys to vote for this video. I know the potential video did win, but it's kind of like, this one was like this. I watched the fan episode and I was like, I kind of like, I want to do this one over the other one. Now I'll do the other one next, but this one is something that was really scratching my itch, or was really giving me the itch, so I wanted to scratch it, or whichever saying makes sense. But yeah, if you're new around here, leave a like and subscribe, like join the family, because like I'm gonna be doing a lot more things. If you guys want, I can even make a Discord server. I don't know, I just don't really like Discord like that, but if you guys want to like talk to me more and stuff, I could make a Discord server and we could like hold little in-house Discord votes and have like little debates and whatnot, and you guys could even probably give me like certain things that I could point out in videos that I may miss, because a few times I have written scripts and I have missed certain things that people bring up in the comments, and I'm like, I could have added that. So yeah, that's something that could happen. But that's enough of my rambling, man, because I need to eat. So I shall see you guys in the next video. I love you for all the support, and goodbye.